Governor Maimala Buni has flagged off the distribution of startup grants to 1,500 rural women across the 17 local government areas of Yobe State. This is aimed at cushioning the hardship faced by women and aged mothers in rural communities. Governor Buni says the startup grant became necessary following vulnerability of the women, who were largely affected by the Boko Haram insurgency. The governor noted that the state government will continue to give priority to women for better inclusiveness and integration into his administration.
I gathered here today to flag off the distribution of empowerment grants to 1,500 women affected by insurgency in Bunyadi, Kujiba local government area. As we are all aware, women constitute a great percentage of population. It therefore becomes necessary to integrate them into the rehabilitation and recovery program as well as the development initiatives of this administration for us to succeed. This administration has recently distributed a pair of girls and 10,000 naira to 5 women in each of the 178 wards across the state as a deliberate measure to empower the women. Similarly, 3,000 women were supported through the State Ministry of Women Affairs with 20,000 naira each to improve their bean cake, kosei, chin-chin, and soya beans cake awara making businesses. Yobe State Government, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Program under the Stabilization Facility Program, is supporting the 1,500 beneficiaries with the sum of 50,000 each as startup grants. I wish to commend the UNDP for the partnership with our administration and supporting our settlement, rehabilitation, and recovery program to improve the lives of our people. I also commend the UNDP for supporting the construction of market infrastructure, distribution of farm inputs, rehabilitation of primary schools, and equipping the Bunyadi General Hospital. No doubt, such humanitarian gesture will go a long way in our post-insurgency recovery process. I call on the beneficiaries of these grants to make good use of this intervention to enhance businesses, to promote self-reliance, sustenance, and dignity. In conclusion, I urge our people to use this holy month of Ramadan to pray for the full return of peace, security, and prosperity to our state and country at large.
That upon assumption of this administration, His Excellency's commitment to the humanitarian needs of the vulnerable population across the state led to the establishment of the new Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management in December 2019, the ministry which I superintend over. Since then, the ministry has leveraged on development partners, federal agencies, as well as regional and other sources to bring developmental projects to the people of the state.
Attention given to us. Your patronage has resulted to an accelerated development that the bank have never witnessed in the history of its existence. These developments are testified by our customers, and recently released reports by our auditors and financial regulators has also testified that our bank has increased and by 38% global budgetary successes as we normally used to have, above what we normally used to have. Your Excellency, sir, I would like to inform you that the Yobe State Ministries and parastatals have complied with the directives you have issued through the Office of Head of Service and continue to patronize our banking services and operations.
And pay all beneficiary after within 72 hours of the backup. When the backup finance, I would like also grant your indulgence to ensure accountability process and have a feedback mechanism to ensure that some of our beneficiaries may encounter challenge when they did not receive alert or when they didn't get their money.
Yobe state government has compensated landowners whose property were marked for irrigation farming in Bursary local government area of the state. While addressing the landowners, the leader of the committee, Goni Bukar, noted that government will provide another land with some amount of money for them to continue their farming, but warned them not to sell the land.
We set up this committee. We started this meeting 5 months ago. We achieved a lot. We arrived and we wrote our recommendation to the government, and His Excellency approved all the recommendation that we have to pay the compensation of those people that were going to acquire their land. So, which he did, he paid the compensation. So that's why we're here. We gathered this afternoon to see them. If you have one or two questions to ask, we address them several times, not this time, because they have to understand the intention of the government before taking any land. We went to the sites. We gathered all the people, the owners of the land in that area, and all of them agreed that we will acquire the land. So, and all of us agreed that we are going to pay the compensation. And all of us agree that after the compensation, because all of them are farmers, we are going to allocate them the same land for them to do the irrigation.
It's very fantastic. We are very happy to see that Yobe State government has recognized our area to be the first land that we are going to start this irrigation. Before the government come to this area to start this irrigation, we say we will not sell any place to anybody. Anybody who want to irrigate, you just irrigate freely, but no selling.
The Yobe State Governor, Mai Mala Buni, has donated the sum of 50 million naira for the construction of the Emir of Potescom Mosque. The event had in attendance the President of the Senate, ministers, Islamic scholars, and traditional rulers, amongst others. In his speech, Governor Buni urged people of Potescom to use this fasting period to pray for the state and end to insecurity in the country.
For the launching of 550 million naira, Potescom Emirate Council Central Mosque in It's a long-waiting program where a need honor for our presence on this remarkable occasion. Your Excellency, and Your Royal Highness, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is often believed that some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some inserted with greatness.
Today on the program, we're talking about the efforts by the Yobe State government in advancing the interests of students and also helping their ambition to achieve academic excellence. And on the program to shed more light on this is the Executive Secretary of the Yobe State Scholarship Board, Dr. Abubakar Bukar Kagu. Welcome to the program, sir.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you.
Yes, let's talk about this very important sector in education. Since the advent of the Governor Mai Mala Buni administration, what's new? What have you been able to do to ensure that, yes, indeed, this whole scholarship scheme is well run?
Well, let me start by saying that, like I always say, this is an institution that has been in existence for quite a long time. But then, on coming of His Excellency Honorable Mai Mala Buni, the first thing we decided to do was to expand the scope of what has been done. Historically, the scholarship board has been about bursaries and scholarship to students of Yobe indigenes of tertiary institutions across the country and beyond. But then we thought and we felt, since these bursaries and scholarships are investments, and wherever you're going to invest something, you have to really look at every component of that investment. We felt it is important that we look at scholarship beyond the mere payment of bursaries and scholarships. And that was the conversation we had with His Excellency, and he gave his nod that that's a good initiative, and that we should go ahead and see what we can do. And that was why, on assumption of office, the first thing I did was to gather the data of the entire students of tertiary institutions in Nigeria and abroad that are Yobe indigenes. And so far we have 38,000 of them across universities, polytechnics and colleges. Not only do we have their numbers, we also have their details, their names, the local governments they come from, the courses they're pursuing, disciplines, the colleges where they're studying, their guardians, their phone numbers, including their emails. These are very important records for us, because that's the only way you'll be able to understand and categorize and also cascade your strength, your weakness, areas that need intervention, areas that you need to put a lot of energy into, and how you can plan going into the future.
How has it been so far? I believe a lot of students have benefited, gotten bursaries and benefited from scholarships. But when you look at it on the what impact has it really made from the feedback you're getting? How has it really impacted on the students?
Let me say that at present, I have 106 students studying outside this country, and each of them is on a full scholarship. We pay their flights, we pay their tuition, we pay their accommodation. And these are, the better equation of them, of course, are people that cannot afford to fend for all these expenses without the intervention of the scholarships board. So essentially, when you do that, you know what kind of impact it has on the students, and those that will aspire to be in schools in the future. And apart from that, here at home, we give bursaries, and that was one of the things we did recently. Immediately after this, after the COVID and students began to resume, His Excellency gave us the mandate to go ahead and pay outstanding scholarship of over 7,000 students, and it has really helped them to be able to resume. You know how the economy is now as a result of the pandemic and so many other things, and we are doing all of this with the support and encouragement of His Excellency, who has always been responsive to most of the legitimate demands that we make.
Okay, just recently, more than 200 students were given scholarships to travel to India to study, and of course, on the long run, it is believed that they will return to add value to the state in all sectors of the economy. Now, but what is the yardstick of choosing who gets what? Because you initially said people that cannot afford it, but are there other yardsticks you use in measuring?
Well, that's a very important question. This is a conception of His Excellency Governor Malabuni. And his plan was actually, let me take you back to history. The plan was to sponsor 700 students to go and study in areas of discipline that are most needed, particularly in a society that is now recovering from over a decade of crisis. But then looking at our economy here in the state, he felt we can start with 30% of that number, which is 233 students that we've now sponsored to go and study in India. But then, being a Democrat, I think he brought that notion of democracy into the whole system, because he strongly advised at the beginning of the selection exercise that this scholarship should cut across political wards, not even local government areas, like political wards. Each of the political wards in the state should be represented in this scholarship. So we called for applications from all the political wards, and then after calling for application, we had a lot of applicants, and then we subjected them to computer-based tests. because of course you cannot invest in someone that you know cannot be able to pursue that discipline you want him to pursue. And after subjecting them to computer-based tests, they got their results, and then we selected based on their local governments and their political wedge. And that is why for everyone that has seen the list of these students, for everyone that has attended the event of the farewell, you realize that many of them are from very poor backgrounds. But of course, when you have an exam like this, and when you say everybody should come and participate, you will of course have people that are not actually from poor backgrounds, but many of them were from very poor backgrounds. I could remember one of the students that I snapped a picture with. His dad lives in a small village just close to this city called Mesandari, and he's a herdsman, rearing cattle that are not even his own. His father was at the verge of tears when thanking me. I said, you should thank me, you should thank His Excellency, and you should also pray for him, for all of us, and for this nation. And we've received messages from, of course, so many of them. We've learned a lot from this. We've learned that if you give opportunities to everyone, you will unveil potentials that you don't expect. And we've seen this in the exams these boys had. Children from very remote parts of the state coming out of very beautiful marks. I was so impressed being a teacher. So these are some of the things that really touched my heart.
Okay, now that they are there, how do you monitor them to ensure that the purpose of having them go abroad is achieved? Because there's the tendency for a lot of them to get abroad and maybe get carried away and get involved in that. Is there a mechanism for monitoring to ensure that indeed why they are there is what they do there?
Well, beside the question of monitoring, you know, this is a careful and cautious project. And then it is a project for the future. Why did I say it is a project for the future? Like I said earlier, our idea of scholarship, Honorable Memala Buni's idea of scholarship, is one that is comprehensive. It looks at every component of the society, all the sectors, because it is through education that you produce the needed expertise, that you cover the needed gap in almost all the sectors of the society. Now, the idea of the scholarship to India, the focus was particularly on healthcare. And there's a reason why that has to be done now. As we're recovering, in the last 1 year and a half, a lot of things were done in terms of healthcare delivery. Out of these 232 students, 135 of them are going into nursing profession with specialization, and 34 of them are going to become pharmacists. 27 of them are becoming radiologists. And the rest, of course, are going to areas of engineering and computer sciences. So we intend to build a future. That is Honorable Memala Buni's dream. A future where, of course, you know of the medical tourism and how India is on the index. Now we're taking them to India where at least there are a lot of advancement in terms of in the areas of medicine. And when they come back here, what we expect is that they should be able to fill some of these gaps. And that is why we pick them from their communities, hoping that when they come, they will go back and render this essential service in their communities.
Yes, the trip of these students to India has also generated a lot of interest, and I'm sure so much pressure will be piling now on your office. People are waiting for when next another scholarship opportunity of this nature will come. It could be in another sector. What's the plan? What do you have up your sleeves?
Yeah. So far, the conversation, the discussions we have with government, especially with His Excellency Memala Buni, is that among the students, there's the plan that about 32 of them will be transferred to medical sciences, but he intends to add to that as well. And as the pressure continues to mount, we know the pressure will continue to mount. I don't think he is willing to relent when it comes to the issue of education. As we speak, more hostels are being built in the Yobe State University. A Faculty of Agriculture is being built at the Yobe State University. The College of Legal and Islamic Studies in Guru had now been converted to a College of Education and Legal Studies. In the School of Nursing that we have here, more hostels are being built. And right now, he has given approval for 10 of the teachers at the School of Nursing, the tutors at the School of Nursing, to go for their master's program. I think he will continue to do more. We'll continue to listen to this pressure. We'll continue to listen to the demands. We'll weigh their legitimacy. We'll weigh how important and essential they are to our community, and then we'll make our recommendations like we've always made. Yeah, that is.
What about, let's talk about bursaries now. We know you said you pay bursaries and all of that, but how do you ensure that everyone is indeed captured?
Like when I came, what we did was, instead of the paper-based application, we now opened a portal, which allowed students that are of Yobe State, that are indigenous of Yobe State all over the world, even those that are at the time were abroad, were able to apply. I was so surprised to see among the applicants, Yobe indigenes, in a lot of them in the east, a lot of them in the west. But I know, of course, there are indigenes whose parents are in the force, in either the police force, the army, and so on. Of course, they are far away from home and they're studying wherever their parents are. So that portal has given us the opportunity to capture the data of all the applicants, all the people that are interested in scholarship. And we intend to present this data after doing our interviews. We intend to present this data to the school, and hopefully we are hoping that we'll be able to capture all of them. We already have 2 desk officers here at the scholarship board. And then we also have 2 staff at the university in India attached to these students. And in this age and time, with communication and everything, I think like monitoring becomes more easier. But we have 2 dedicated desk officers at the Yobe State Scholarship Board that are dedicated to the issues of our scholars in India. And most importantly, we have to do this because these are undergraduates. Most of the students that we already have abroad are postgraduates, so they're matured students. But these ones are undergraduates, fresh from secondary school. So we really have to do that, and we did it. One of the people that traveled with them in the first batch is their desk officer. He's the deputy director of planning here at the scholarships board.
With all of these interventions by Governor Mai Mala Buni, you can say that students in Yobe State are well motivated.
Of course, of course. I don't know if you've ever visited our university, have you?
Yes, I have.
What did you see? It's a massive infrastructure. It's a state university, but massive. A lot of investment is going into that university. And since his assumption of office, I think one of the things he has prioritized, if I'll be asked to judge, I'll tell you he has priorities in 3 things. Infrastructure, where now he's building about 3,000 houses, 5 modern markets, roads all over the state. Healthcare. Of course, you know, presently there's a 160 capacity bed for maternal and child health care at the Yobe State Teaching Hospital, which that structure is like half the teaching hospital itself. So, but then education is very close to Governor Boni's heart. When he came on board, during his inauguration, was when he declared a state of emergency on education. And from then, he has not stopped. I was the secretary of that committee on the state of emergency. We worked along with Professor Maladora, who is now the Vice Chancellor of the Yobe State University. And I know how much he has invested in education. I know how much we've achieved in the last 12, 13 months. And I know the mega schools that are coming up all over. And that's why the Scholarship Board is really interested in all of these things going on, because we intend to sponsor, we intend to support the experts that will in the future come on give the needed expertise to all of these institutions.
That has been our conversation with the Executive Secretary, Yobe State Scholarship Board, Dr. Abubakar Bukar Kagu. Thank you very much for watching.